So this next episode's called Iraqis Have Swimming Pools. So on occasion we do, well, not on occasion, quite a bit actually, we do what were called cordon searches. And the way that works is you get a target, say like a target building or a target house, and suspected enemy activity. A lot of times we would get information about weapons caches or bomb making, IED material, stuff. Just in general get intelligence about bad guys and where they lived or where they worked. And so we would schedule or plan out what were called cordon searches, and we would plan ahead. We would figure out where this location was, and we would look at the surrounding neighborhood, and we would try to figure out a plan of attack and figure out what would be the best ingress and egress. And the way a cordon search would work, like if it were a house or a building, you would have what was called, it was kind of a three-staged approach. It took quite a number of people to do this, but you'd have what was called your breach or your entry team. Those are the folks that would actually enter the building or the target house or whatever it was, and then you would have a security perimeter that was just outside that building or house, and that was called your inner cordon. And then you'd have a secondary perimeter that would surround that target location of additional people, up to and including vehicles or support vehicles. That was called your outer cordon. So you had your breach team, your entry team, your inner cordon, and then your outer cordon. And it was just really for command and control purposes. It was for overwatch and support. It was for anytime something went down, you'd have to emergency evac or whatever the case may be. You had the right resources and assets in place in order to react accordingly. Well, we had this one target house that we were going to go into, and on this particular mission, my section was assigned to the inner cordon, not the entry team, but the inner cordon. And so we were immediately around this particular house. It was a house, a residence, and it was in a rural area. So there was different types of residential houses in Baghdad. It was, the very condensed or highly populated buildings that would literally be one right next to another, to the point where you can go on the roof and literally run or jump, from rooftop to rooftop, from residence to residence, and you can do that for, blocks at a time. So it was very densely populated residential areas. And then you'd have kind of standoff or individual homes where, you could basically walk all the way around the building or the home or the house, because it wasn't connected to, say, other houses. And in this particular case, that was the case. This residence or this target house was kind of a standalone structure, building, residence, and as the inner cordon, we had to basically kind of surround the building, and secure it from all 4 points of the building. And we usually did this at night to maintain the element of surprise. Not only that, but there was fewer people out on the streets. It was easier to control. There was no foot traffic, very little vehicular traffic. And we had, the concealment of night. Obviously, we had our night vision goggles to aid us in seeing. So it was just all around general practice to do these cordon searches late in the evening. We're talking, 2, 3 in the morning kind of stuff, when the neighborhood's sleeping and you're out, earning a paycheck. So this was the case, and so I'm skirting around. It's late, it's dark. I'm skirting around this house, and of course I've got my NVGs on. And for those of you that may have never had the privilege of wearing a night vision goggle, rather cumbersome. I did have the one monocle as opposed to the two monocles, so it was lighter, but only served one eye, but you get used to that. but you still don't have a very good sense of perception in terms of depth perception, you know, how far away things are from you or whatever. But I'm walking around this house, and unbeknownst to me, now the sewer systems over in Iraq, particularly in the residential area, is not like what you would see in America. So what they would do is they would literally have kind of a toilet area, or a hole in the floor that they would do their business in, and it would basically go into like it would like flush out this, you know, 3-inch diameter tube, but instead of going into like a city connected sewer system or an enclosed, you know, septic system like a leach field or something like that you would see in America, it would literally just go into, they would hand dig these pits, you know, probably 10 feet by 10 feet by, you know, 4 or 5 feet deep, these huge pits, and this pipe would literally just run out into the middle of this pit, and then all the waste would just dump into the pit, and then they would cover it over with like this really flimsy ass plywood. I won't even call it plywood or particle board. I don't even know what the hell it was, but it was like this, you know, when you buy a bookshelf at Walmart, you know, the cheap ones, and you put your bookshelf together, and then on the back of the bookshelf you tack on this really thin ass kind of veneer wood, whatever, and you tack it in with these little tiny nails. It was like that kind of wood, right? But it was probably in sheets of same size as plywood, so, you know, 8 by 4 feet. A couple of pieces of this they would stretch over this hole, and it was dark and I couldn't see, and it looked flat, like it was a ground level, and I ended up walking right on top of this damn thing, and of course, as you can imagine, I fell right through this plywood into waist deep human feces shit, and it was horrific. I don't even know how else to describe it other than just, I was just mortified, and because, you know, one, I had to be quiet, right, because I didn't want to wake up the whole neighborhood, because I was supposed to, you know, we're about to enter this house and we're supposed to maintain the element of surprise and all of that. But I was stuck in this quicksand human feces pit, and I couldn't get out. And the more I struggled, the further I sank, and I'm holding my weapon up, trying not to get it covered in shit. And of course, I never did make it to my corner of the building to pull up security. I did have an ICOM radio that I could call for help, but at the time, you know, the breach team's about to go in, and, you know, if you're on station too long, it doesn't take long before they realize you're there. And so I just kind of waited for the breach team to enter and do their thing, and then, you know, once the element of surprise was over and everyone cleared their rooms, did whatever they had to do, then I called in the radio and got some guys around the back side of the house where I was to kind of help pull my ass out. But it was one of those smells that that I don't, thank God I don't smell it often, but every once in a while, and I'll catch a whiff of like a sewer or something, and it'll just immediately bring me back to that moment, and I'll never forget it. It was an absolute horrific, I mean, human feces is human feces, and shit is shit, and it smells all bad, but there's just something special about Iraqi human feces. There's just, I can't explain it, and I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it's the different food that they eat or whatever it is, but there is definitely something uniquely special about Iraqi shit. But that's my story. Successful cordon search at my expense, and I don't remember who pulled me out, but whoever you were, thank you, appreciate it. Otherwise I'd probably still be there. Alright, until next time.